Welcome to Killer Meals. Today we are dining with Doyle Skillern, and this is his last meal. Doyle Skillern was convicted of the murder of undercover narcotics agent Patrick Randell and executed in the state of Texas in 1985 by lethal injection. But let's start at the beginning. Doyle Skillern was born April 8, 1936, to parents Severe Wallace. I can't say it out loud. I knew I was going to be able to say it. It's his name. Is that a real name? I saw it on the genealogy thing, and it was under like a couple different things. To parents Severe Wallace Skillern and Lillian Gertrude Bobbitt, who had 7 kids by the time she was 29. Not much is known about his childhood or early adulthood for that matter. In fact, not much is known about Doyle Skillern until he was arrested for his first murder. In 1971, the body of 46-year-old Milton Skillern was found underneath 4 inches of a concrete slab patio outside his home on Padre Island, Texas. Wait, his name was Milton Skillern? Yes, it was. Doyle had murdered his brother and buried him under a patio, which is horrific. On May 17, 1971, Doyle had murdered his brother after several days of intense arguments. Skillern was convicted of the murder of his brother and sentenced to 5 years in prison, which seems flagrantly wrong.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
What's even worse is that he only served 2 of his 5-year sentence before he was paroled in May of 1974. Isn't that wild? And there's no details on the internet. I couldn't find news articles. I couldn't find anything anywhere on the 1971 murder of his brother. It wasn't like it was like involuntary manslaughter. It wasn't like it was an accident. What I do know, regardless of what the murder was, like, you still buried that man under 4 inches of concrete, and he only got sentenced to 5 years in prison.
Yeah, that doesn't.
And then only served 2 of them. It doesn't make any sense, and it's bizarre, and it's even more bizarre that there is like nothing on the internet about it. But it's not like it's 1930.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's not like it's 1930. We're not in the 1910s.
No.
Like there's 1974. There's pretty good record keeping.
Yeah, and so like it's for there to be nothing anywhere on the murder, I don't know, it's super weird. Shortly after his release, he met up with Charles Victor Sahn. By October of 1974, the pair were successfully dealing drugs in Austin, Texas. In fact, they had become so good at selling drugs, it put them on the radar of the Texas police. In an attempt to take the 2 down, the Texas Department of Public Safety initiated a sting operation where Patrick Randell, an undercover narcotics agent, would set up a meet. Upon meeting with Skillern and Sahn, Randell agreed to buy $850 worth of Quaaludes from the 2, which today would be about $5,500. I'm no expert, but I feel like that would buy a decent amount of Quaaludes. Also, my Google search history says things like, how much are Quaaludes? How many Quaaludes for $5,000?
Quaaludes.
Why were they dealing Quaaludes?
Quaaludes were big in the 70s.
On October 23rd, Randell met Skillern and Sahn in a room at the Esquire Motel in Beeville, Texas. Other narcotics agents were listening in on the meeting from an adjoining room. The previous day, Skillern and Sahn had expressed concern that Randell may have been an undercover agent, but they continued with the buy anyway. The pair offered Randell a sample of the Quaaludes, and when Randell confirmed interest in the drugs, one of the men replied, "Let's go someplace where we can talk business." At 7:10 p.m., the 3 left the room, and Randell strangely left the $850 in buy money behind. He got in his car with Sahn, while Skillern followed in their vehicle. Later, agents who were monitoring the transaction noted that this was the last time they saw Randell alive. 1 hour later, at 8:10 p.m., Skillern and Sahn came back to the motel room without Randell, entered his room, and left. An hour later, when the observing agents still hadn't seen Randell return, they issued an APB, or All Points Bulletin, to be on the lookout for Randell, the 2 men, and their car, as they assumed Skillern and Sahn had kidnapped Randell. At 1 a.m., DPS narcotics agents and officers with the Cameron County Metro Squad spotted Skillern and Sahn's car. They promptly pulled it over and arrested the 2 men. They were mere miles away from the Mexican border. As it turns out, the car the pair were driving was stolen. In it, they found the $850 in buy money, Randell's service weapon, and 2 of his state-issued credit cards. Skillern was in possession of Randell's wedding ring. which nauseates me. Like, did you keep it as a trophy? Were you gonna pawn it? Like, that's his wedding ring. Shortly after Skillern and Son were taken into custody, Randell was found in his car at a park, having been shot 6 times in the chest and abdomen, his right hand still holding a cigarette. Based on the distance between where his body was found to the motel room, police inferred that Randell was probably killed immediately upon arrival at the park. Skillern and Son were indicted for intentionally causing the death of Randell in the course of committing and attempting to commit a robbery, which is a capital offense. They went on trial for the murder in 1975, and the evidence against them was incredibly strong. In addition to Randell's belongings being found in the stolen vehicle, the murder weapon, a 1914 South American revolver, was linked to Skillern through an associate who had sold him the weapon a few weeks before the murder. The prosecution alleged that Skillern and Son knew that Randell was an undercover agent and had therefore plotted to kill him. Initially, Skillern and Son did not testify in their trial. The jury took just 3 hours to convict the 2 men and recommended the death penalty for Skillern, but only a life sentence for Son, as he had only a minor criminal record and Skillern had previously been in prison for murder. However, their convictions were quickly overturned due to jury tampering. During the retrial, Son took the stand and admitted to being the one who shot and killed Randell. He claimed Randell had hit him in the face and pulled a gun on Son, which caused him to shoot Randell in retaliation. Skillern was said to be waiting in a nearby car. Skillern pointed out that in this version of events, he at most participated in a robbery and should not be held accountable for the unexpected murder of Randell. During the second trial, prosecutor John Flynn said, "Who was the mastermind? Who furnished the gun? Who got the money?
What's in the box?
Who got the replacement gun? There he sits. Is he connected? Without a doubt." Additionally, under Texas's law of parties, a person can be held criminally responsible for the actions of another person if they are party to the offense. At the end of the retrial, both men were found guilty again, and the death penalty was recommended by the jury. Upon appeal, Son's sentence was converted to life in prison, as the Court of Appeals ruled it would have been double jeopardy to increase the sentence after the first trial. Skillern's death sentence was upheld. A mere 6 months after Doyle Skillern's scheduled execution, Charles Son, who confessed in court to being the trigger man in the murder, would be eligible for parole. Son said he was bitter about the disparity of the sentences, adding, "The person ending up with the harshest punishment was not responsible." However, when asked if he would trade places with Skillern, he declined. "This case shows the capriciousness of the death penalty," said Charles Sullivan, director of Citizens United for Rehabilitation of Errants. "This is really blatant. In effect, we've turned the death penalty upside down." Sullivan petitioned Texas Governor Mark White for a 30-day reprieve on behalf of Skillern, but despite the support of 15 Texan lawmakers, the governor denied, stating that he could not find adequate basis for denying the enforcement of the state court's judgment. Skillern reportedly showed no emotion at the governor's decision, but stated, "A lot of people will still have their troubles tomorrow, and mine will be over." Regarding the very small group of people gathered outside the prison the night of the execution, Texas Attorney General Jim Maddox said, "Both opponents and proponents recognize that the Supreme Court has made the decision that the death penalty is going to go forward. I am pleased that the crowds and jeering type crowds are not here, but I would hope that this does not become a run-of-the-mill procedure." Which I thought was really interesting for the Texas Attorney General to say. Basically what he was like, "I'm glad that it's not a circus out there, but I hope that this hasn't become so commonplace that just nobody cares anymore." Skillern's brother-in-law, William Sparks III, was the only family member to witness the execution. Sparks was also a prison guard at the unit where Skillern was held on death row. Shortly after midnight on January 16, 1985, Skillern was strapped to a hospital gurney in the death chamber in Lubbock County, Texas. He stared at the ceiling as the warden motioned for the execution to continue. 4 minutes later, he would be dead. Skillern's last words were, "I pray that my family will rejoice and will forgive. Thank you." He was the second man in 8 days to be executed as an accomplice to murder. Doyle Skillern was pronounced dead at 12:23 a.m. He asked for steak, potatoes, peas, rolls, banana pudding, and coffee as his last meal.
Order up for Doyle Skillern.
What do you got?
Today we've got the last meal of Doyle Skillern. So we got a ribeye. We salt cured that in the refrigerator overnight and reverse-seared it and basted it with some butter and some herbs and some garlic, and it should be really nice. He had some peas. I mounted the peas with a Beurre Monte that I put some chives into. Just gently warmed them up in a little bit of stock. He had some potatoes. It didn't really say what kind of potato, so I did an oven roasted potato. These should be nice and crispy and full of like garlicky, herby goodness. He had some rolls. So we made some nice ultra soft rolls using a scald method and some butter and some egg and all the things that you can do to kind of soften up a roll. He had banana pudding. So we made the Nilla wafers from scratch.
Yes, we did.
We did. We made the custard from scratch, and we topped it with a meringue, which is a little bit different from a normal banana pudding, but I thought it would look really cool, and I thought it would taste just a little bit more elevated than just a standard whipped cream. And he had some black coffee that we French pressed, and here it is. I think we should dig in.
I think we should dig in. It looks delicious.
I think it does.
What are you going to start with? I'm starting with the coffee. I'm going to start with the peas.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with the peas.
How do we have to eat this thing?
Ooh.
They are citrusy. They are bright. They are buttery. I love them. I tell you what, I did not like these growing up. It was like the one thing I would refuse to eat. If my parents saw this, they wouldn't even. Oh, really good.
Yeah, these are delicious. What a great simple way to just elevate some peas.
What a great simple way to elevate some peas. Truly not hard. You just have to be a little patient while that butter melts.
That's it.
What's next?
We got some oven roasted potatoes.
Okay.
Parboiled these and then put them in a hot oven with some herbs, garlic, olive oil, salt. Should be great.
Still a little shaken.
Did a little shaking.
Okay. Well, they sound crispy.
They do.
You know what? They're not. They're not soggy. Like so many times
Yeah.
I have potatoes and they're just like soft and soggy,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not. They're still super crispy.
Mm-hmm.
And again, what a simple, easy way to elevate them so you're not serving somebody just like an oven baked soggy potato.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the problems that you run into with a potato when you just throw it straight in the oven is it's still full of starch. And it's not going to cook evenly either. But when you take it out, it's so full of starch, it's still going to be mushy within minutes. But when you parboil them, you eliminate that
When
problem.
you get rid of the starch,
You get rid of the starch.
I starch.
And you're creating little crags and stuff on the outside that are going to be, the little fissures on the outside that are going to get crispy.
No.
Yeah.
Steak time?
I think it's steak time.
Thank you.
Steak cheers.
Which is really good. You get the herbs from the ending.
Mm-hmm.
You really do. And I was like, how much are they really going to come through? They really come through.
Mm-hmm. They
It's
really do.
seasoned nice. Cooked really well.
It's seasoned all the way through,
Mm-hmm.
which is really great. That's what you get with that overnight cure.
Mm.
And it kind of breaks down the muscle proteins a little bit. It
Okay.
makes the steak more tender.
More tender.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. It's very tender.
Mm-hmm. It is very tender.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's try this roll.
Guess we could eat all.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. Oh, that's great.
They're super soft. They're buttery. They're a little sweet.
It's a solid roll. It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna make sandwiches out of this thing. All right, here we go.
It looks beautiful.
It does. It looks really cool.
All the little dottons. But so you layered them so you could see it from the outside?
I did. I layered them so you can see it from the outside. You can see the bananas and you can see the wafers.
Oh my gosh, so good. Love banana pudding. I didn't understand how it was made for about 37 years. And I assumed that it was like a banana flavored custard.
Here's the deal with the banana flavored custard. I know this because we work for a restaurant group that made banana. It is pretty typical to use like basically a banana flavored jello pudding pack. But it is worlds better to make the custard yourself. And this meringue sets this thing all the way off.
I'll tell you what, it's a nice little textural difference because I feel like a whipped cream is heavier and the meringue is just a little light note at the end and it's nice.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost got like marshmallow vibes.
Yeah.
I can't stop eating this. Well, thanks for watching. Give us a like, a subscribe, share us with your friends, and we'll see you next week for your reservation at Killer Meals. Bye.
Bye.